Hi, my name is Samuel James Price, and every single Friday I give you a top-down macro technical analysis video. We go over Bitcoin, Bitcoin dominance, Tether dominance, the DXY, S&P futures, the NASDAQ, and some other surprise charts to show you what may be happening to the altcoins and more. Total and Total 3 as well, if I forgot to add those. So let's get it in. First, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, major dump for Bitcoin. What are the key levels to watch? Where could we be going? And where have we been? Let's take a look at it. So we remember I used to talk about 65.5, 65.5. So we can't close up below that. We did. I said once we close below 65.5, we're going to come and test 60,000. We did that. I said we can't lose 60K. If we lose 60K, we are going to test 52, 51, $53,000. We did. We tested 53,700 for Bitcoin. We didn't hit the exact area, but we definitely wicked back to the upside with some, a bunch of buy and sell pressure in this area made it a little bit of a choppy. And we did have a high volume node kind of right there that we went off of right there. You see that high volume node that we touched on the VRVP. So we're about to close a weekly candle below 60,000, which is bearish, suggesting that we will come and head to 52,000. If we close a candle below 52,000, if we make it right there, I don't see how we don't come and test possibly $47,000 Bitcoin. Now, are we going into the 40s? It's very possible. What are the possibilities of us breaking down? Well, this could be an M. This is an M. Measure move to the M takes you somewhere to about 47,000 right off the bat, right? At least 51 to 52,000 looks likely, but we'll take it from there. Right now, it looks like we're going to close a candle very, very bearishly, but usually you won't lose the 50 on the weekly. We should get a bounce somewhere in that area. What's your bullish case scenario? That you're going to make some type of shoulder, some head, and a right shoulder here, possibly make an ascending triangle, and then we're just right back on for the breakout, and everything kind of goes back to where we were. So if we get back above 60,000, I think it'll make a lot of people kind of just say, oh, that was nothing. But if we kind of stay in this realm and play around, people are going to get pretty freaked out for a while. I think it's going to cause some max pain and definitely shake a lot of people out of the market. If anything, I'm looking at this also like a giant cup with a handle. So then we're going to take a Fibonacci here, and we're going to pull it from this wick to this wick on the weekly. And that's going to tell us the 618 golden pocket sits right there at $51,800, $52,000. So if we come down there, it would make perfect sense. It wouldn't be crazy. It would align 100% with things I've seen in my life when it comes to technical analysis, right? So we already know that's on the table. These are scenarios. The 3-day chart, could that be a shoulder ahead and a right shoulder? Could we get a bounce here? There's a chance we do. There's a good wick action right there. So there's a chance we could get a bit of a bounce here on the 3-day chart, possibly back to the top of the channel, right? And then we have resistance here too at 71,725, right? We take a look at the daily, and the daily has lost the 200 SMA. Bearish sign. I told you, whenever I lose a 200 SMA, I flip bearish. We did get a buy-up wick right there, but still pretty sketchy business. The probability tells you to keep your short open with a stop on the other side, because if it comes back above, fine, you don't lose a lot, and then you can reconvene. But if it does stay below, then you'll get paid on the massive short, possibly down to 47,000, 50,800, right? So it does suggest there's more downside. You have a gap in the VRVP here. You wicked right before you got to this high volume node sticking out, but you definitely went through this gap. If you get to this node, I don't see how you don't go through that gap. That could take you to 42,000. So 42,000 is possible and on my radar. It's not like I'm saying that can't happen. I kept cautioning everybody that I could see that the markets were not in a good spot. I saw a lot of crypto Twitter saying, it's just going to keep going up. We're ready, bullish. I didn't feel that sentiment. The market told me to be wary. The probabilities were very high that we were going to see some type of manipulative dump here to the downside. We're going to have to wait for a little more market structure to play out. I'm in a long right now that's pumping up nicely, though. Wow, another long moving to the upside. Love seeing that. Today was a great day for swing trading. If you watch my live stream, we just absolutely nailed it. So here's the deal. I mean, we made this bear flag. We broke to the downside. So now you need either V-shaped recovery and get back above 60. So we need a V-shaped recovery and get back above 60,000 too, and turn this into an inverted head and shoulder. Or this is going to make another flag and then, go down the length of the pole of that flag and continue to the downside. So I'd watch this for a V-shaped recovery or possibly a flag that goes sideways and dumps. You'll see how the 21 interacts with price. If the 21's more sharp and you go through it, you'll come up. If the 21 goes more lateral and you come to meet it there, you may dump. Watch how price action in the 21 interacts here on the 12-hour time frame for Bitcoin. You got to get back above 60,300 to remain even slightly bullish. That's bounce, support. That's going to be your resistance to flip. And then your likely next stop, if you do drop, is 51.3 and then down to 47,000. At that point, I'm sure I'll reconvene and give you guys some more information. Okay, moving forward, let's take a look at the total market cap in all of cryptocurrencies and see what key levels we have to watch for total. So total was in this beautiful, basically symmetrical triangle. We couldn't lose this bottom trend line. We did, and then it kind of looks like we bearishly retested it. We fell out of it, we tried to get back in, and we dropped to the downside. So we're seeing some pain here for sure in the total market cap. Let's go look at the weekly and see our key levels for the total market cap. All right. Key levels to watch here are this heavy resistance at 2.62. Then we got this bounce off of 2.2. But once we lost 2.2, you can see that we're coming back in. We do have some chop that could save us, though. It's not all bad. We got some chop at 186, and we got some support right down here at about 1.563. So if we lose 1.85, it looks like we could drop right down to $1.5 trillion, right? But it's not all bad, and it does suggest that we may get this inverted head and shoulder here. This may just be a quick scare to shake people on out, like I showed you for Bitcoin, and then we make like the ascending triangle with the inverted head and shoulder, and we get the pump to the upside. So that's one thing that I'm looking at for a possible gain there for the total market cap. So you're watching the total market cap. If it loses this level, you're looking for it to drop to 1.52. If it can V-shape recovery and get back above 2.2, then you're looking for the kind of inverted head and shoulder and to load up on that right shoulder, really, for the total market cap and all of cryptocurrency. And then the key level to break back above is obviously 2.6, but we'll talk about that when we get there. Total 3 is the market cap of all of the cryptocurrencies, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. These are all our baby altcoins. And honestly, as long as we stay above the weekly 200 SMA, we're in good shape, right? That would spell a disaster. If we can stay above that, we're going to be okay. Everyone's stressing a little bit too much right now. I think it's just a lot of fear in the market, which gets people to act overly emotional. Look at this, though. I mean, this is a Sammy Cup and Handy. That's what I'm known for, Samuel Cup and Handle. And this is a known trade that I make a lot. So previous support is resistance. Now, if you ever did lose that level, you may drop all the way down. That would be bleeding for the altcoins, and we might even come back down to 371. But who's selling their altcoins? I'm not. I don't understand why people would sell so fast. So you just needed this to break back up and possibly retest 584. And then it come back down to that local high there, up to that local high at 794. And then if we can break 790 and, we'll go to 800 billion. And if we break 800 billion, I just feel like we get right back to we get to the target and we break through and we get to that bigger target, $1.178 trillion. But still looks like a cup and handle to me. Unless we lose this key level, we drop further to the downside, that key level will have to hold. All right. Let's move forward to the S&P. All right. Actually, I'll do the DXY now because I like to see what the DXY is doing. So the DXY, we talked about it in this flat channel to sideways action, and we talked about watching it closely inside what was called a symmetrical triangle that it started to make, right? So here, I'll show you. The bigger triangle is the symmetrical. Sorry, let me get you there. Right here. And we saw the consolidation. I just got a little bit of TA in here that I want to zoom into. We'd like to see this lose this trend line and drop to the downside. Would be way better for Bitcoin, risk on assets. It would also mean they're beginning to print a lot of money. It would be something that we definitely want to see. Let's go back to the daily here. And you can see the daily, I thought it could maybe consolidate inside of this channel. Let's take a look. So the DXY has been dropping for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days straight. It's been getting sold off. A lot of BRICS talk. A lot of people, not wanting to move money in the petrodollar anymore. They're definitely attacking the U.S., relevance on the monetary system, like for sure. They're trying to take away some of the power. I mean, more and more countries still love the U.S., and the U.S. is still king as far as it is in a lot of other countries. So it will be a battle, and we haven't lost it yet, but we definitely are slowly losing a little bit of power. The DXY, you see it in this falling wedge on the daily. You want to see it lose the 200 SMA and drop drastically. You don't want to see it bounce here. So we're going to watch this for the next 2 days, 3 days. 4 days from now, I would love to see it lose this level and drop further to the downside, somewhere to 102. I don't, if it bounces and starts coming up, then we're going to have to kind of go for more sideways, and then it could even break out, right? We definitely want it to break to the downside. If they're going to be printing money, if Bitcoin's going to pump, this would have to lose value over time, and the DXY would have to be bearishly retesting this key area. We're going to watch this closely for you and keep you updated on basically a daily or every bi-weekly basis, and you're going to know exactly what's going on with the DXY if you watch my channel every day. So that's Bitcoin. That's total 3, Bitcoin dominance. Let's take a look at the S&P futures, which I told you was going to go sideways and make a flag 2 weeks ago straight. It did that, and then I said it was going to break out of the flag. Everything that I explained happened on the S&P exactly as I explained it. Right there, I said we would go sideways till we got close or interacted with the 21, where we would then break out. I gave you the stop loss and the entry. You can move the stop loss to break even now. You're already in profits if you traded the S&P. That looks like it's going to continue. The daily getting started. When I'm here next week, I see the S&P at 5.8. And again, I just gave you a call, stone cold. Every 2 weeks, I've been going over this. Every Friday, had you watched this, you would have been able to make money in the regular markets. The richest people in the world just trade the S&P. So if you're an old guy just sitting on 50 mil, I'm your guy. You're going to want to watch this channel. If you're a new kid getting into crypto, I'm your guy. If you're trading world markets, Forex, Bitcoin, it doesn't matter. I'm your guy. I've put 15 years of my life into this. I've dedicated hours and hours. If anyone can show you the highest probabilities of what's likely going to happen, I truly believe it's going to be this channel and all my years and years of doing this. So the S&P booming and not much to go on. It made the flag exactly as I said it would when I drew it here, and it broke out similarly to as I said it would. I even had the stop loss and everything. The stop loss is now brought to break even. So I don't know what else more I could tell you. You can see my call beautifully. Same thing with the NASDAQ. They follow each other. I drew this flag, said we'll interact with the 21. The daily will curve. It's how I trade crypto. Low stochastics, 21-day moving average, support or resistance, and we're off to the races. We break out of this in the NASDAQ. They're printing money, my friends. And today they even mentioned they're going to print more money. Janet Yellen saying it's coming. So look for this to continue to pump. The S&P, the NASDAQ getting busy. And it's only a matter of time till Germany stops selling, Bitcoin recorrects, they cut the rate, and we pump right back to the upside. I'm really not stressed about the Bitcoin market. I'm really not stressed about it. To me, it's just business as usual. We will bounce back fast. Let's look at Sol BTC, a coin that kind of gives me a little bit of insight into the rest of the market. And Sol Bitcoin. Sol really still holding its own. ETF still coming out. People like Sol. I think there's going to be a big talk about a Sol ETF that's going to pump the price. When you see institutions getting into Solana, they realize they got to play with assets. That's what they do. And Solana is a great asset to play with compared to the rest of the world. Comparatively speaking, where else can you make the gains that you could make off Solana? So, it's a little rocky road here, but look for this to break back above the 200 SMA and continue to pump. If Solana gets back above that 200 SMA, I see Sol Bitcoin pumping. If Sol Bitcoin's bullish, it means that the overall market's bullish. It means Sol and Bitcoin will pump together. Let's take a look at Bitcoin dominance. Yesterday had a big spike, but lost it, came right back down on was that the daily time frame or was it the weekly even? Let's see here. So Bitcoin dominance, I think it was the 3-day chart, daily, and the 4-hour yesterday, yeah. So Bitcoin dominated yesterday, got this huge pump to the upside. When it did what? What? Broke the 200 MA. That's a catalyst for a bounce on any asset in the world. I don't understand, but, I just trust it now. Once we got the bounce, it means people were selling their altcoins for Bitcoin immediately. But then they got scared too, and then they sold their Bitcoin off too as well. So first Bitcoin got the dominance because people sold altcoins. Then people just got really scared and they sold Bitcoin too as well. That pushed the fear and greed index into this shaded region at 29. It's the greatest place to start to buy Bitcoin. Today I bought $10,000 worth of Bitcoin. I did on my live stream. You can go to the timestamp. I hope my team put it out there, but you can see me buying Bitcoin on my live stream today in front of the world at the fear and greed index at 29. All right. Beautiful times to be alive. You got to love it. So Bitcoin dominance, if we lose this 4-hour 200 SMA, we will drop further down and there will be more sell-off. If we get a bounce here, it could, maybe give Bitcoin a little bit of a stepping stone before it goes, so keep it from going lower. Also, the daily on Bitcoin dominance is bouncing off the 200 MA and the bottom trend line, suggesting that Bitcoin dominance is stabilizing. And it was just a little bit of a sell-off, but it will stabilize back again. And then it's looking like it's going to go parabolic. And to me, it shows that there's going to be some type of pump here for Bitcoin because Bitcoin dominance wants to make a parabolic pump to the upside. It can't do that unless Bitcoin makes a huge move. So that's very interesting to watch, Bitcoin dominance. You always want to watch Bitcoin dominance with Tether dominance. You want to couple these together and pay attention. Tether dominance was in a flag. We talked about it. We saw that it broke the 200 SMA in a flag, touching the 21. We traded Bitcoin just like this on the 1 minute today. It's the exact same setup that I teach. And so I knew the dominance was high, and I knew that there could be a drop for Bitcoin. Whenever you see a bull flag on Tether Dominance and the Stokes are low and you're touching the 21, it's kind of telling you that Bitcoin's about to dump. And so whenever you see Bitcoin dominance drop and Tether dominance pump, people are leaving Bitcoin and getting into Tether, period. However, Tether isn't the greatest asset in the world. It's connected to the DXY. The DXY is faltering and it has a bad history. It's connected to all these other fiat currencies that have been bagged. The $1 billion German earmark, the $10 million, the Zimbabwe, $100 trillion. They've done this many times to these currencies. So with that being said, that they're likely going to do it to the dollar. So why would you want to be connected to it by being in heavy Tether? For me, I wouldn't. And I think a lot of people are going to wake up to that and realize that. So over time, I just don't see Tether dominance trending up too high And so we really want to see it get solidified by this resistance, start to break down. And, we'll find another structure or see what happens. But I'd like to see this break to the downside. I don't want to see the U.S. Tether dominance breaking 5.84% and headed back through this high volume node. It could end up to 7.26 if we get more of a sell-off here for Bitcoin. That is going to cut it for you today. We're going to do Bitcoin. We did Bitcoin, Bitcoin dominance, Tether dominance, the DXY, total 3, and Sol BTC. The last one I want to talk about is Casper and show you what's going on for Casper. If you take a look at Casper, right? Casper has been one of the hotter coins in the entire market, defying the odds, right? It was just simply sitting there at 10 and 11 at the beginning of May. And it pumped, basically did a double up to 20. It did 100% gainer in about about 2 months, right? From May to July. The only thing I'm a little weary about it is it does have like a somewhat of a bearish divergence here. See that swinging down on the RSI while that's swinging up on price action tells me that we definitely have to be careful and there's something to watch out for. But when I kind of mimic it like this, if we can get a bounce somewhat soon. So if Bitcoin can get a bounce, Casper's obviously going to get a bounce. If Bitcoin does not get a bounce and takes us down, it's going to take Casper down. And you're going to be able to buy Casper again at 9 cents, possibly at 12 cents. But if Bitcoin can get a bit of a bounce, we can defy this M pattern here. We're getting more and more oversold for Casper, and this would be a great little bounce. So if Casper bounces here and starts to solidify, that would be a great place for a big swing trade, you see? If it loses that level, then we could swing it to short. We could swing it short possibly for gains too. But I'd like the long swing if this can kind of consolidate. But we definitely need to hold this trend line, and we can't lose the 200 SMA on the daily. I would watch Casper very closely, and I'd watch the 200 SMA on the daily, and I'd watch this trend line as well. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. You can find out when I post my next video. Remember, if you came to the channel, then you're already doing the right thing. Crypto is life.